So the Kansas City Star can't help itself. It's like Kansas City firefighter dies. Let's see how we can pin this on Republicans in Missouri. It's pretty gross, but it's also their MO in cases like this. You know, when you look at who's to blame for the death of Grant Hoffman on Saturday night in Clay County, first off, the obvious person is the woman who was in custody, who was released from jail just days earlier for biting a chunk out of the arm of a Kansas City, Missouri police officer, and who just a few weeks prior had been involved in a hit and run. That's obviously the first person to blame. If you want to look at the system, you want to look at the judge, you want to look at the low bail number at $10,000, those are conversations that should be had in the days and weeks ahead. A lot of people heard what we said yesterday here on KCMO, and a lot of folks that I know who are familiar with the judge in this case have insisted strong conservative. This was a fair bail last week when she bit the cop. I've got to do more digging on it, so I'm not going to opine on those things just yet, or I won't opine further on those things just yet. I want to get some more information on background. But I do know this. The Kansas City Star is just garbage and can't help itself. Here was their headline yesterday into this morning. A KC paramedic was just killed. Missouri may soon end payments to families like his. Right, that's their angle right out of the gates here. They write here, the family of a fatally stabbed Kansas City firefighter paramedic Graham Hoffman may receive a one-time $25,000 payment from Missouri under a state law that provides death benefits to the survivors of first responders killed in the line of duty. But Hoffman's next of kin could be among the last to receive the benefits unless Missouri lawmakers act soon. A Missouri law that authorizes the death benefits payments will expire on June 19th unless the General Assembly reauthorizes it. Even before Hoffman's death on Sunday, lawmakers were already quietly scrambling to avoid a lapse in the program. So you're sitting there and you're thinking, boy, those Republicans in Jeff City must be real hypocrites. They don't want to pay families who have lost a loved one in the line of duty in Missouri? Between the headline and the way the article begins, that would be your assumption, right? Well, then you actually get to the meat of the story. And the meat of the story is that right now what's going on is there are bills, multiple bills being offered that would increase that payment to families from $25,000 to $100,000, and from there, link future increases to inflation. Huh. Funny how that works.
Idiots down there should only be able to use the word may in a headline if they're referring to the month. Right?
Yes,
no, that was my first clue. May.
Yes.
And then we got into the first sentence. Could.
Yes.
You get a C in class for crap like that. Find out. Report back to me. Give me the facts, not woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Well, that's all they do well. The woulda, coulda, shoulda nonsense.
Well, I can do that too, right?
Yeah, sure.
We can all do that.
So Missouri law has set the payments at $25,000 for those who lose loved ones in the line of duty. It's been there since 2009. And right now, there is a movement to increase it to $100,000. And there are multiple bills working their way through the Senate and through the General Assembly to make that happen and get them to Governor Kehoe's desk. And it's believed that that will actually end up happening sooner rather than later. Because, as is always the case in Jeff City, I mean, it's like cramming for a final exam in college. These guys and gals do everything at the last minute. I mean, they hang out for 3 months and then they get to work. I don't get it, but it's just, during my time, it's how they've operated down there. It is what it is. But it's amazing how when you actually go through the story here in the Kansas City Star, they go on to admit that as the May 16th end of the General Assembly's annual session approaches, lawmakers have been trying to get the death benefit reauthorization into a bill likely to become law. Likely to become law. There it is, 2/3 of the way down the article with these hacks.
Pelosi journalism, you have to read it to see what's in it, right?
Yes.
No, I think they're just trying to clickbait their own listeners with this, you know?
Yeah, that's clearly what they're doing. Among the furthest along in the process is Senate Bill 71, which would extend the program until 2031 and raise the benefit to $100,000. Versions of the bill have passed the House and the Senate. It's now in a conference committee where lawmakers are negotiating a final compromise bill. The sponsor is a Republican from St. Louis County, David Gregory. So you have a bill to raise the payment for families who have lost a loved one from $25,000 to $100,000, extend it until 2031. The versions of the bill have passed the House and the Senate, and now it is in conference committee where they negotiate a final compromise bill. This thing's basically done. And the Kansas City Star framing this article, which resulted in the death of a Kansas City, Missouri firefighter and paramedic over the weekend when he was tragically stabbed by a crazy person, allegedly, after they picked her up on 152 highway. To frame this piece as, quote, a KC paramedic was just killed, Missouri may soon end payments to families like his, is so disingenuous, is such hot garbage that even by their standards, of which there are basically none, they should be thoroughly embarrassed. The headline reads to try to make Republicans in Jeff City look bad and look like they don't care about families who lose loved ones in the line of duty, when actually what is overwhelmingly likely to happen is that Republicans are going to pass a bill and Governor Kehoe's going to sign a bill that makes that payment 4x what it was. But they would never frame the headline like that, right? Because that would make the people that they hate, the journalists, air quotes, the people that they hate, look good. And they can't stand to do something like that. That is not allowed in their so-called newsroom. And it's an absolute utter joke.